start with, there's different types of degrees available to you. So for most of you, the one you'll be most familiar with is the honours degree. 3 years bachelor's degree, basically, arts degrees, science degrees, engineering degrees, law degrees. They are typically 3 to 4 years taught at universities. But there are other opportunities and options available to you as well. Foundation years, ones that we'll focus on most here because they're a year-long course that mean that if you haven't studied the right subjects at A-level, or if you don't quite make the grade requirements for one reason or another, or you simply want to try something completely new but you're not sure whether it's going to be right for you, you can look at foundation courses as a means to transfer over onto another course at a later point. Degree apprenticeships are also very popular at the moment. There's lots and lots in the media about them. Universities are beginning to promote them a bit more as well. Benefit to these is you don't pay fees. Downside, they're incredibly competitive. It's more competitive than getting onto a medicine course at the moment, and you do it through an employer. You're applying for a job, not a university. So that employer will put you into university. You will still need to meet the university's grade requirements, and at the moment employers are being very, very choosy, some of them, over which students they're taking on because it's an employer's market. Rolls-Royce have a very, very good one. Jaguar Land Rover have a very good one. They have about, I think Jaguar Land Rover have 400 or 500 degree apprenticeships each year, but they get thousands of applications for them. Okay, let's see, sort of if we've got a rough idea of the options that are available to you. Does anybody have a, normally I'd make everybody stand up and sit down, but we don't have time. Does anybody want to take a rough guess at how many courses are available to students to choose from across all the different universities at an undergraduate level? Hands up if you think it's more than 100. Oh, we've got a few that don't think that many. Hands up if you think it's more than 500. Few still. 1,000. Getting less. 2,500. Couple less. 5,000. Oh, we've got a couple still going. 10,000. Oh, few. You've still got your hand up. How many? How many? 60. You're not far off, do you know. So, depending who you ask, it's anywhere between 37, according to some universities, and 50,000 different courses available to you. Really important, psychology, let's take that as an example, is not one subject. Every university will have a degree that they call psychology, but the reality is we will all teach something very, very different. So it's really important that you're actually doing research into those courses and identifying the type of things that you're interested in within that subject. So if you're interested in brain development, there will be universities that will focus on that. If you're interested in sort of issues around midwifery and issues of postpartum depression or prenatal issues, there will be universities that focus on that. It's up to you to identify where those courses are, and we'll show you how to do that. Okay. This is going to give you an example as to some of the weird things that you might come across. Anybody brave enough to try and work out what the 3 fake courses are on that course? Are they on the screen for you there? So, so yeah, don't cheat. Okay, is anybody brave enough to give me an answer? Anybody brave enough to shout out one they think is fake?
Parent management.
Parent management?
David Beckham, surely.
David Beckham?
No, there isn't.
Which one's right? Horology? Okay, so horology is a real course you can study.
Fashion sports. Oscar dress.
So the 3 fake ones, yeah, we're looking at Oscar dress design, David Beckham studies, and parent management. I'm sure there are a few of you that quite like parent management degree course. So if you do, the catch here is all 3 of those fake ones are actually modules that you can learn at university as part of courses. So there are universities that will teach parent management as part of a psychology course. So All of those others are real. So if you want to go and learn circus and physical performance at a university, you can do. So there's a whole host of things you may never have even come across before that might be of interest to you. So if you've got 50,000 courses, how are we actually going to decide what we want to do? There's a few ways you can begin to break this down. You might already know. You might have a favourite subject that you just simply want to continue with. That's what I did. I loved history at school. It was the only subject other than PE that I actually really turned up to. I followed that through. I went to university and I wanted to do history, but I wanted to do a specific type of history. And then I thought, well, actually I can combine this with archaeology as well, so I can go and be a bit more vocational. I might actually be able to go and get a job in this field. I did. It's not very nice when it's raining and cold, so I came back inside. You might have a career in mind. So there are particular careers that do require you to have a specific degree. So if you want to go into the law, for example, you can do what's called an LLB degree. That's a 3-year pathway that gets you straight onto the solicitor training schemes, the barrister training schemes. There are other ways to do it, but they take longer. Teaching, if you want to teach in a secondary school, you need to have a degree. It's also worth having a look on some job boards just to see how many different types of careers these days will just specify that they want you to have a degree for those transferable skills. So it is really important to think about. But you might simply want to develop an out-of-school interest or try something completely new. University is a fantastic way to explore and to find out more about yourself over a period of time. There are a lot of things that you do need to consider though. So we've mentioned briefly things like course content. So if we go back to psychology, what is the actual content of that course? Similarly with history, what period are you learning about? What types of topics are they going to teach you? That's the same for most courses. It doesn't matter what you want to study, unless it's something like medicine or law where they're very prescriptive. Actually find out what the course content is going to be and make sure that aligns with your own interests. The worst thing you'll do is turn up to university where you haven't studied what the course is going to teach you, turn up on day one, be told and think, oh, I want to go home. And you're stuck there for 3 years learning something you're not that interested in. You've got options to combine degrees as well. So you can actually combine some different degree pathways. So like I did history and archaeology. With that, you're studying 60% of the primary degree, 40% of the secondary degree. Different universities have different combinations available, so you'll need to explore that a little bit more. The course length, is it a 3-year course? Can you do it as a 2-year accelerated course? How quickly do you want to get into the world of work? Is there a placement year available? So that would turn it into a 4-year sandwich course. Have a think about teaching and assessment style as well. How many people here love exams? No one? So you can have a look on the university's course pages and see how many of the modules that you'll study will be assessed by an exam. We will tell you there are courses that are 100% coursework based. There are courses though that are 100% exam based. So if you hate exams, you might want to think about whether you want to go onto a course that's going to assess you purely on exams. Accreditations, if you're looking to go into the world of business, accountancy, architecture, all kinds of different degree ones, does it come with the relevant accreditations that's going to enable you to pursue that career, to become chartered in a specific type of industry? We've mentioned work placement, so if that's something that's important to you, does the course offer it? Does the university offer it? Find out who those links are. How many people are quite interested in studying abroad perhaps, or spending a year living abroad? A few. So again, some universities are going to offer it, some universities will offer it only for specific courses. So you need to actually have a look to see whether the course you want to do has the opportunity to enable you to study abroad. And of course, entry requirements, that's the one thing that everybody fears the most. We'll come on to it in a second. So work placement years are really important. They're going to give you loads of support, loads of information. You'll get to actually experience what that world of industry is like. Talk to the universities when you're looking at the courses. Find out who they have relationships with. Do they meet your interests? Do they have facilities, if it doesn't meet your interests, to pursue and to try and approach other companies as well. And they're just examples of some of the companies that Brooks has ongoing relationships with and that we send students to every single year. The one thing I will point out here, particularly more for parents rather than the students themselves, you do still pay university fees for a placement year. It is reduced. Most universities charge about £1,500 rather than the full fees for that year. The reason for that is you are going to get continued support from the university. You will have a placement supervisor and you will have a support mechanism that going to be in regular contact with you, see how you're developing, making sure you're getting the support that you need, and liaising with the company to make sure that they're actually developing you in a way that meets your requirements. If you're thinking about studying abroad, you want to find out where you can actually go. What links do those universities have? And it's not always the easiest thing to find out. I'm not going to lie to you. I know that Brooks partners with 150 universities across all of those countries. But if you ask me at a course level, which countries we align with, I don't know, because there's so many of them. It is on the website, you can contact the universities, but it's something that you're going to have to do a little bit of research for yourselves. You're going to have to come and talk to the universities, talk to those departments and say, if I'm looking to do a year abroad, where can I go? Because if you've got your heart set on America, and actually our link is in India, do you want to still come to that course? Don't forget, guys, you are paying for university. There's nothing else in your life that you're going to spend money on in the way you're going to spend money on university that you're not going to thoroughly research and want to align with all of your desires. Entry requirements then, these are the bits that people tend to worry about the most and focus on the most. But we'll explain this in a little bit more detail as we go through as well. But in general, you've got 3 different requirements and expectations for most courses. Universities will typically only look at English, Maths and Science at GCSE, but it may vary from university to university and the type of course you're applying for. If you're looking at medicine, dentistry, veterinary studies, they're going to look at more of your GCSEs. A lot of the Russell groups will look at more of your GCSEs as well. For Brooks, we just need you to pass them, the majority of courses. Other universities will have different entry requirements. They might require you to get 8s or something like that. Your level 3 qualifications, your A levels and college qualifications. Here it's really important to know whether you have to have studied particular subjects to align with the course that you want to study. Go back to that foundation degree that I mentioned though, so if you haven't, you still have a way around that. It's worth finding out from the universities whether they have a grade requirement or a UCAS requirement. So we have a UCAS requirement, which means you need to get a set number of points based across your qualification. So it doesn't need specific BBC or something like that. There is a caveat that I'll come on to in a second. Other universities will require you to get the exact grades they want. You will be told when you're applying which one it is. So you'll get an offer letter that says you need to make 120 UCAS points. Or you'll get a UCAS letter saying you need to achieve BBB. You could miss out slightly by 1. You could get, if it's BBB and you get AAC, they're not going to accept you because you've missed by that 1 grade. Whereas if it's the UCAS tariff and you 120 and you get AAC, they will still accept you because you've exceeded that UCAS tariff. EPQs, some universities accept them, some don't. So again, finding out whether it's relevant for you. Additional expectations, these are the ones that catch people out sometimes. So universities might require you to have work experience, particularly for things like the healthcare industry. They might require a portfolio for the arts-based courses. Some might require interviews, some, Oxbridge in particular, might have things like entrance exams. Are these things that you're comfortable doing, that you feel capable of doing? It might impact on the courses that you actually decide to choose. To give you an example of what that looks like in practice with Brooks, if I focus on mechanical engineering, you'll see that all 3 of those courses are very different. So mechanical engineering, we have the GCSE requirements. We have the tariff scheme, but we also specifically say that we need 2 Bs in maths and physics. So we do put a grade requirement on it. With psychology, it's simply 112 UCAS points. We don't have a GCSE requirement for it. There's no interviews, it's simply you apply and you'll get an offer. Adult nursing, GCSE requirement, 104 tariff points, no specific grade requirements, but there is a relevant work experience and an interview process for those. So you really need to know what is expected of you when you're actually applying for different courses.
Excuse me, what's IB points?
IB's International Baccalaureate. Some schools use it rather than A-levels. The best place to start researching courses is UCAS's own webpage. So UCAS control all of the applications. They have a course finder that will link you to all of the universities that offer a course that you're interested in. Simply type it in and it will list all of the universities who offer it and give you a breakdown of what that course looks like. You can then move over onto the university's own web pages, find out a bit more information that way. There's YouTube channels that will give you sort of 2-3 minutes sort of clips with current students. You can find out a bit more if you don't like reading. Careers fairs like this are fantastic. Come and talk to the representatives, find out a bit more about it. Then the really important thing is open days. Actually come and visit universities. 2 reasons. 1, find out if you like the university itself. But 2, if you come into the open day, you'll meet the lecturers who are actually teaching you. They'll answer all of your questions. They're the experts on those courses. There are things like summer day, schools taster days you can get involved with as well. You can come and experience university for a day or for a week, and you'll be immersed as a member of that university. Okay, so we've got 50,000 courses. What about universities themselves? Just general consensus, shout out. How many do you think there are in the UK for you to choose from? A, B, C or D? D, B. So a few mixed consensus. So you're looking at 166 official UK universities. You can actually increase that number to over 300 if you're including regional colleges, if you're including international campuses, so where US universities have individual campuses in and around the UK and things like that as well. That takes your options to over 300 places you can apply to. Again, all over the country, Scotland, you've got Northern Ireland and Wales as well. And then there's all the different types. You're going to come across different terminology. And the reality is, for most of you, this isn't going to mean very much. It's not something you need to worry about overly. But you might hear people talk about ancient universities. That's basically any that were established prior to the 19th century. So Oxford, Cambridge, Edinburgh, Glasgow, places like that that were established a long, long time ago. But it doesn't really mean anything other than they've been around for a very long time. The key one that we'll come on to, key 2 that we'll come on to, modern universities and Russell Group, we'll come on to those in a second. But you've also got things like collegiate, civic and campus-based universities. And these are all very different types of experiences. I'm hoping this is just going to work itself, yeah. So Brookes is a modern university. We're multi-campus based, but we're trying to bring everything into a single campus. What that means is everybody is in one place. So we have about 18,000 students, all effectively in one area, studying all of those courses that we offer. We're outside of the city centre, so we're not a city-based university, so we have green landscape around us, but we're about a 5-minute bus ride into the city. That's not going to suit everybody. Some of you are going to want to be in city centres. Some of you are going to want to be at larger universities, places like Manchester, Nottingham, that have got much larger student pools. Some of you might actually be put off by even sort of medium-sized universities like Brookes. You might want to go to a smaller university where there's fewer students. There's lots and lots of different experiences out there, and universities feel very different from each other. Open days are your best friend. Honestly, go to them, experience them, because you will get to places. My first choice, when I applied to university, I was convinced. On paper, it was perfect. It was exactly where I wanted to go. I told the teachers, I'm not even applying for any. I was quite lazy at school, if you haven't picked up on that already. I told teachers I don't even want to apply for anywhere else, and they forced me to. Good for them, because we went to an open day to my first choice, and I hated it. I got off the bus and thought, I cannot spend 3 years here. It's not me. It's not the experience I want to have. I ultimately went to Leicester, loved it, but it was my 5th choice. And it was one that a teacher had put, and they dragged me there. Open days are your best friend. Russell Groups, a lot of you will have heard about them. There is the concept that Russell Group automatically means best, that they are the best universities. Yes, in some ways, no in others. University is a very individual experience. It's what's important to you. So to be a Russell Group university, it means that the majority of your income comes from research-based sort of projections, output. So lecturers doing research, writing academic papers, publishing books and things like that. Has to be done at an internationally exceptional standard. The offside of that means that lecturers may not actually teach on the course. So I went to a university where I went to a Russell Group university myself, and a lot of the time I wasn't being taught by lecturers, I was being taught by PhD students. When I did my own PhD, I was teaching as a PhD student to undergraduate students. That doesn't mean you're getting necessarily any less of a quality consideration, but if you're going to a university specifically because you want to be taught by a specific academic, find out if they're actually teaching on the course, because they may not be. Russell Group are fantastic if you want to do research-based courses. They get the majority of the research funding, so they are among the wealthiest universities. But it's not as prescriptive as list as they often quite like to make out. There are a number of universities who have refused offers to become Russell Group universities because they don't want to. They don't want to have to live within the confines of what that actually means. It's about finding where feels right for you. If you're thinking about it from a purely sort of careers-based perspective, most industries are now moving towards blind recruitment, where to remove prejudices and things like that. There are still certain industries, though, that the Russell Group can sort of have a significant impact on helping you to progress into. A lot of the economics industry, some law-based firms will still have a preference for Russell Group graduates, but it is increasingly becoming less and less. You will get a world-class recognised degree wherever you choose to study. League tables, again, these can be quite confusing. It's about what's important to you. Overall league tables, we would typically tell you to avoid them. We actually rank quite highly in them, but we would still tell you to avoid them. Look at course rankings. Look at the course you want to study and have a look at rankings based around that. Have a look at things that matter to you. So is quality of teaching, is how you're actually going to be taught, what the quality of that teaching looks like. Is that important to you? How much support do you want? Look at league tables for teaching quality and things like that as well. What you'll tend to find if you look at overall league tables, Russell Groups are all up there because they're the richest. If you look at the course tables, they're all over the shop. So you might find Russell Groups in the sort of bottom 100 courses and things like that as well. It's also about the university experience. So have a think about things like unions, societies. What are you going to do from a social perspective? What types of things do you actually enjoy doing? Societies are run by students for students. They give you that social output. There are means to sort of explore different opportunities. Is sport important to you? How seriously does the university take sport? Does it offer you the opportunity to play the sports that you want to? These are all questions you should be asking yourself when you're thinking about where you want to go to. What about student life and well-being? What's the actual support that's available to you as a student? Are you going to get academic support? How are they going to look after your mental health? How are they going to look after your well-being? And I know this is like a whistle stop, I do apologise for that. What about if you want to work? Does that university let you work? Some don't. Some do. We would encourage it because we're all aware of cost of living at the moment. We would encourage students to actually go and get part-time work, but we set up a facility that enables students to get work in correspondence with the university and other businesses, so it fits around their studies and doesn't impact on them. You can become student ambassadors, for example, for the university, and we pay about £14.50 an hour to student ambassadors, so it's a decent salary as well. Exploring open days, though, that is the key. So it's identifying the type of course you want to do. There are 50,000 of them, but trust me, that will quickly whittle down. Once you've whittled down those courses, start looking at the universities that offer them. Identify 5 or 6 that you're particularly interested in. If you can, go and visit at least 3 of them. There's been a recent trend over the past couple of years of students just going to 2 open days. And that's had a direct correlation with the number of students, of an slight increase in students dropping out after the first year. And when we've spoken to students, this is across the sector, as to why they're dropping out, it's because they hadn't done that research. They hadn't realised what the course was going to teach them, or they turned up on day one and not liked their accommodation, or not liked the facilities. It does mean you have to do a little bit of work. You do have to do a little bit of research, but that research will really help you make that choice that is genuinely yours. Take ownership of it, identify the course you really want to do, and then identify the university you really want to go to. Explore those universities and find that right one for you. I appreciate I've not left much time for questions, but are there any questions or anything anyone would like to know? No? Covered everything, brilliant. If you do want to come and find me afterwards, I'm happy to stick around for a few minutes, or I will be at the Brooks stand if anyone wants to come and chat to me there. Otherwise, lovely to meet you all.
Thank you.